The idea of secession has long been a topic of discussion in the United States, from the Civil War to modern movements advocating for greater autonomy or outright separation from the Union. However, while secession is often presented as the ultimate solution to political and cultural divisions, it is not the only path forward. The road ahead offers multiple alternatives that could address the underlying grievances fueling secessionist sentiment without resorting to a complete break from the United States. This chapter explores the various alternatives to secession, including greater state autonomy, interstate compacts, constitutional amendments, and reforms that enhance representation and governance. While some of these solutions require political will and compromise, they offer ways to address dissatisfaction within the current constitutional framework without the extreme consequences of dissolution. By examining the role of public discourse, legal mechanisms, and the balance between unity and diversity, we can explore the potential for an evolving republic that remains intact while still respecting the autonomy and distinct identities of its states and regions. Alternatives to secession: greater state autonomy within the Union. One of the primary drivers of secessionist sentiment is the perception that the federal government exerts too much control over state affairs. However, rather than leaving the Union, states could pursue greater autonomy within the existing system. Some potential mechanisms for achieving this include expanding the use of the 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution reserves powers not delegated to the federal government to the states. Some states have already used this amendment to challenge federal authority on issues like gun rights, healthcare, and environmental regulations. By reinforcing the 10th Amendment through legislative action and legal challenges, states could reclaim greater control over local governance while remaining part of the Union. Strengthening federalism and local governance. A return to a stronger federalist system, where states have greater authority over taxation, education, and social policies, could reduce the sense of federal overreach that often fuels secessionist rhetoric. Some possible reforms include allowing states to opt out of certain federal programs in exchange for managing their own funding, creating state-run regulatory agencies that replace federal oversight in key policy areas, giving states more control over electoral processes, such as districting and voting regulations, interstate compacts, and regional cooperation. Rather than seceding, states with shared political, economic, or cultural interests could form regional coalitions to enhance their autonomy while maintaining the benefits of being part of the United States. These coalitions could address issues such as taxation, environmental policy, transportation, and education. Examples of existing interstate compacts include the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, a successful model of joint governance between two states managing key infrastructure. The Western Climate Initiative, a cooperative effort by several states to reduce carbon emissions independently of federal policy. The Southern Regional Education Board, a compact that coordinates educational initiatives across multiple southern states. Expanding the use of interstate compacts could allow states to operate with greater independence while still benefiting from federal protections and resources. Constitutional amendments and structural reforms. Another alternative to secession is a constitutional amendment, or a series of structural reforms that address the root causes of dissatisfaction. While amending the Constitution is a challenging process, it has been done successfully 27 times in U.S. history. Potential amendments could include rebalancing Senate representation. One of the recurring complaints in modern politics is that the Senate gives equal representation to states regardless of population, leading to overrepresentation of smaller, rural states at the expense of more populous states. A constitutional amendment could adjust Senate representation to better reflect population disparities while maintaining the structure of state representation. Revisiting the Electoral College. The Electoral College system has led to multiple instances where a president was elected without winning the popular vote. If electoral fairness is a major concern fueling secessionist movements, reforms could include moving to a national popular vote system, implementing ranked choice voting to better represent diverse political preferences, revising the allocation of electoral votes to more accurately reflect state populations, clarifying the process for state secession. Rather than having legal ambiguity surrounding secession, a constitutional amendment could establish a clear and lawful process for a state to leave the Union, ensuring that any such move is done in an orderly and peaceful manner. This could include requirements such as a multi-year waiting period to negotiate the terms of separation, a supermajority vote within the state to approve secession, a clear resolution of financial and territorial disputes before final separation, expanding state representation in federal decision-making. Many autonomy movements stem from the belief that states do not have enough influence in federal decision-making. Reforms to enhance state representation could include giving states greater power in federal budget decisions, ensuring that regions retain more control over how federal funds are allocated, reforming the role of governors in national decision-making, possibly creating a formal council of governors that advises the president, allowing states to propose legislation directly to Congress, similar to how the European Union allows member states to introduce policy initiatives. By increasing state-level influence in national governance, these reforms could reduce the desire for secession by making federal policies more inclusive and representative of diverse regional interests. The role of public discourse in national unity. Encouraging civil discourse and political engagement. One of the key issues exacerbating secessionist sentiment is the decline of civil discourse. Political polarization has made it difficult for opposing sides to find common ground, fueling movements that seek to abandon the national conversation altogether. Rebuilding trust in democratic institutions requires media reform to reduce misinformation and create more balanced news coverage, civic education initiatives that teach the value of federalism and how state and national governments interact, bipartisan town halls and forums that encourage dialogue between different political factions, addressing cultural divisions. Many secessionist movements are rooted in cultural identity rather than political policy alone. Recognizing and respecting regional cultures while maintaining national unity is crucial. Some ways to achieve this include recognizing regional holidays and traditions within national frameworks, providing greater support for local languages and educational curriculums that reflect state histories and cultures, creating cultural exchange programs between states to foster a greater sense of national cohesion, balancing unity and diversity. Can the U.S. accommodate political diversity? One of the most significant questions in the debate over secession and autonomy is whether the United States can continue to function as a unified entity despite deep political and cultural divisions. While some regions may feel alienated from national policies, history shows that flexibility and compromise have often prevented total fragmentation. Lessons from other nations. Several other federations have faced similar crises and found ways to maintain unity while respecting regional differences. Canada and Quebec. Rather than allowing Quebec to secede, Canada granted greater autonomy and recognized its distinct identity. The United Kingdom and Scotland. Scotland has gained increasing levels of self-governance while remaining part of the UK. Switzerland's canton system. Switzerland maintains national unity through a highly decentralized system of governance, giving significant power to individual cantons. Applying lessons from these models could provide a framework for the United States to maintain national cohesion while accommodating regional differences. Conclusion. While secession is often seen as the ultimate solution to regional grievances, it is not the only option. A wide range of alternatives, from greater state autonomy and interstate compacts to constitutional amendments and electoral reforms, could address the root causes of dissatisfaction without the economic and geopolitical consequences of breaking up the Union. The road ahead requires open dialogue, political compromise, and a willingness to reimagine governance structures to meet the needs of a diverse and evolving nation. Whether through enhanced state sovereignty, electoral reforms, or new mechanisms for regional governance, the United States has the tools to adapt without resorting to fragmentation. The challenge is whether its leaders and citizens are willing to pursue those alternatives in good faith, recognizing that a more flexible and responsive union may be the best path forward for all.